The day started like any other on Earth. People went about their daily lives, unaware that everything was about to change. In New York, London, Tokyo, and cities across the globe, life moved at its usual pace. But high above, in the darkness of space, something extraordinary was happening. It began with a strange blip on radar screens in space monitoring stations around the world. At first, technicians thought it was a glitch. They tapped their screens, ran diagnostics, and scratched their heads in confusion. But the blip didn't go away. Instead, it grew larger. In Houston, NASA's mission control erupted into a frenzy of activity. Alarms blared as more and more objects appeared on their screens. These weren't asteroids or space debris. They were massive, organized, and moving with purpose. "What in the world are those?" asked Sarah Chen, lead scientist at NASA. Her eyes were wide as she stared at the main screen. Before anyone could answer, the sky lit up. People around the world stopped in their tracks, mouths agape, as enormous ships broke through the clouds. They were sleek, silver, and unlike anything humans had ever seen before. In Washington, D.C., the president was rushed to a secure bunker. World leaders scrambled to make sense of what was happening. The United Nations called an emergency meeting, but panic was already spreading. Social media exploded with videos and photos of the alien ships. Some people ran for cover, while others stood in awe, phones held high to capture the historic moment. As day turned to night, the ships took position over major cities. They hung there, silent and menacing, their purpose unknown. The world held its breath, waiting for something to happen. In a secret military base, General Rodriguez paced back and forth. "We need to know if they're hostile," he barked at his team. "Get me every scrap of data you can find." Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing the ship's energy signatures and trying to decipher any signals they might be sending. But the visitors remained silent, adding to the growing tension. News channels ran nonstop coverage. Experts debated what the arrival might mean, while religious leaders called for calm and prayer. In the streets, some people threw end-of-the-world parties, while others stockpiled food and water. As dawn broke on the second day, humanity was united in a way it had never been before. Old conflicts were forgotten in the face of this new, unknown threat. Or was it a threat? No one knew for sure. Finally, after 48 hours of silence, the ships made their move. A bright light shot down from the largest vessel, hitting the ground in front of the United Nations building in New York. When the light faded, a group of tall, humanoid figures stood there. They were clearly not human, with silvery skin and large almond-shaped eyes. One of them stepped forward, raising a hand in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. "People of Earth," a voice boomed, somehow understood by everyone regardless of language. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have come to offer you a place among the stars." The world watched, stunned, as history unfolded before their eyes. Humanity's first contact with alien life had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. As UN representatives cautiously approached the aliens, one thing became clear. Earth stood on the brink of a new era. Whether it would be one of wonder or war, only time would tell. The world watched with bated breath as the alien representatives from the Galactic Empire stood before the United Nations building. Leaders from every country had gathered, setting aside their differences in the face of this unprecedented event. UN Secretary General Maria Lopez stepped forward, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Welcome to Earth," she said, extending a hand in greeting. "We come in peace and hope you do as well." The lead alien, tall and imposing with shimmering silver skin, looked at her hand curiously before mimicking the gesture. "We are pleased to make your acquaintance," it said in a voice that seemed to bypass ears and speak directly to minds. "I am Zaxel, emissary of the Galactic Empire." As the two leaders shook hands, cameras flashed, and people around the world cheered. It seemed, for a moment, that this encounter might be the start of a new, peaceful era for humanity. But the mood shifted quickly when Zaxel spoke again. "We have come to offer Earth a great opportunity," it announced. "The chance to join our vast empire and reap the benefits of our advanced civilization." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Join their empire. The implications were staggering. "What exactly does joining your empire entail?" asked President Chen of China, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Zaxel's large, almond-shaped eyes blinked slowly. "It's simple. You will be under our protection and guidance. We will share some of our technology, and in return you will provide resources and obedience to imperial law." The human leaders exchanged worried glances. This didn't sound like an equal partnership. "And if we decline this offer?" asked Chancellor Schmidt of Germany, her voice tight with concern. The alien's expression didn't change, but the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees. "That would be unwise," Zaxel said. "The Empire is not accustomed to rejection." As the implications of this statement sank in, tension filled the air. What had seemed like a peaceful first contact was quickly turning into a thinly veiled threat. Back in the White House Situation Room, military leaders watched the exchange with growing alarm. "We need to be ready for anything," General Rodriguez said, his jaw set in determination. "I don't like the sound of this empire." Meanwhile, in a lab in Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked feverishly to analyze data from the alien ships. "There's something odd about their energy signatures," she muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's almost as if—" Her eyes widened as realization struck. She grabbed her phone, fingers flying, as she sent an urgent message to the UN delegation. Back at the UN, Secretary General Lopez's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then looked up at Zaxel with new understanding in her eyes. "You say you offer us protection," she said carefully. "But from what? It seems to me that the galaxy was peaceful before your empire began expanding." Zaxel's silvery skin seemed to ripple, the first sign of emotion they had seen. "The universe is a dangerous place," it said. "We bring order and stability at the cost of freedom." President Okonkwo of Nigeria spoke up, his voice firm. "That's not a price Earth is willing to pay." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. You will join us, or..." "Or what?" interrupted Lopez, standing tall despite the alien's imposing presence. "You'll force us, destroy us. Either way, Earth will not bow to tyranny, whether it comes from our world or yours." A tense silence fell over the gathering. Humans and aliens stared at each other, the future hanging in the balance. Finally, Zaxel spoke. "You have one planetary rotation to reconsider your position," it said coldly. "Choose wisely." With that, the aliens vanished in a flash of light, returning to their ships. As they disappeared, a cheer went up from the crowd. But the leaders knew this was just the beginning. They had taken a stand for Earth's freedom, but at what cost? As night fell, the alien ships loomed over Earth's cities, a constant reminder of the choice humanity faced. In homes, labs, and military bases around the world, people prepared for whatever might come next. The clock was ticking, and Earth's future hung in the balance. As the alien ships hovered ominously in the sky, world leaders gathered in a secret underground bunker. The room buzzed with tension as they debated Earth's response to the Galactic Empire's ultimatum. "We can't possibly agree to their terms," said President Chen of China, his fist pounding the table. "It would mean the end of our freedom, our way of life." Chancellor Schmidt of Germany nodded in agreement. "But can we afford to refuse? Their technology is far beyond ours. We could be wiped out in an instant." The room fell silent, as everyone considered the gravity of their situation. Then, a voice spoke up from the back of the room. "We have no choice but to stand our ground," said Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the scientist from Tokyo. All eyes turned to her as she stepped forward. "I've analyzed their energy signatures. They're powerful, yes, but not invincible. There are weaknesses we can exploit." General Rodriguez leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. "What kind of weaknesses?" As Dr. Tanaka explained her findings, a spark of hope ignited in the room. Maybe, just maybe, Earth had a chance. Meanwhile, in cities around the world, people waited anxiously for news. Families huddled together in their homes, eyes glued to TV screens. In New York's Times Square, a massive crowd had gathered, staring up at the alien ships with a mix of fear and defiance. Back in the bunker, the leaders had reached a decision. Secretary General Lopes stood up, her face resolute. "We will not bow to tyranny," she declared. "Earth stands united in its refusal to join the Galactic Empire." A cheer went up from the assembled leaders, but their celebration was short-lived as they turned to the daunting task ahead, preparing Earth for the Empire's response. As the deadline approached, a flurry of activity swept across the planet. Military bases scrambled jets and activated defense systems. Scientists worked around the clock, adapting Dr. Tanaka's findings into potential weapons and shields. In a surprising turn of events, long-standing enemies put aside their differences to face the common threat. Middle Eastern nations formed a united front. North and South Korea agreed to share resources and technology. The world watched in awe as a global defense force took shape in a matter of hours. It was an unprecedented show of human unity and resilience. As the final minutes ticked away, Secretary General Lopes stepped onto a global broadcast. Her face was stern, but her eyes shone with determination. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady, "today we face the greatest challenge in human history. The Galactic Empire has demanded our surrender, our subservience. They believe we will bow to their superior technology and might." She paused, letting her words sink in. Then, with a fierce pride in her voice, she continued, "But they have gravely underestimated the human spirit. We are a young species, yes, but we are also brave, innovative, and fiercely independent. We have faced extinction before, from nature, from our own weapons, and we have always survived." Around the world, people held their breath, hanging on her every word. "Today, we send a message to the stars. Earth is not a prize to be won, not a resource to be exploited. We are a free people, and we will fight to remain so. To the Galactic Empire, we say this: Earth declares its independence. We reject your empire. We reject your rule. We stand united, we stand free, and we stand ready to defend our home." As she finished speaking, a roar of approval echoed around the globe. From the streets of Lagos to the plains of Nebraska, humans cheered, their fear transforming into resolve. High above, the alien ships began to move. The Empire's response was coming. But this time, Earth was ready. In labs, in military bases, in homes and hearts across the planet, a new feeling was taking hold. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was hope. It was determination. It was the unbreakable human spirit, ready to take on the stars themselves in defense of their home. As the first shots of the intergalactic war were about to be fired, one thing was clear: Earth would not go quietly into the night. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Earth's defiant message had been sent, and now the planet held its breath, waiting for the Galactic Empire's response. It didn't take long. The sky lit up with a blinding flash, and suddenly, every screen on Earth, from smartphones to giant billboards, showed the same image. Zaxel, the Imperial emissary, his silver skin gleaming and his large eyes narrowed in what could only be described as anger. "People of Earth," his voice boomed, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "Your defiance is noted, and it displeases the Empire greatly. We offered you a place among the stars, and you spat in our face." In the underground bunker, world leaders watched with grim faces. General Rodriguez clenched his fists, while Dr. Tanaka furiously typed on her computer, analyzing the broadcast signal. Zaxel continued, his voice growing colder with each word. "You believe you can stand against us. Your planet is but a speck of dust compared to our might. We have conquered galaxies, subdued species far more advanced than yours. What hope do you have? Around the world, people huddled together, fear creeping back into their hearts. But then, something unexpected happened. In New York, a young girl shouted at the screen, "We have hope. We have each other." Her voice, somehow, was picked up and broadcast globally. Zaxel paused, seeming taken aback. Then his eyes narrowed further. Hope, unity, these are the weapons you choose to wield against us. Foolish. He raised a hand, and behind him, the view changed to show a massive fleet of ships stretching as far as the eye could see. This is but a fraction of our force. You have one last chance. Surrender now, or face total annihilation. The broadcast cut off abruptly, plunging the world into stunned silence. In the bunker, Secretary General Lopes turned to her fellow leaders. "Well," she said, her voice steady despite the situation, "I believe the Empire has made its position clear." President Okonkwo of Nigeria stood up, his face set in determination. "And we have made ours clear as well. We will not bow." A murmur of agreement ran through the room. But the question remained, how could Earth possibly stand against such overwhelming force? As if in answer, Dr. Tanaka's computer beeped. She looked up, her eyes wide with excitement. "I found something," she exclaimed. "The Empire's broadcast. It wasn't just a message. It was also scanning us, probing our defenses. But in doing so, they revealed something about their own systems." She quickly explained her findings. The Empire's technology, while advanced, had a weakness. Their ship's shields operated on a frequency that, if matched exactly, could be disrupted. "It's like finding the right key for a lock," Dr. Tanaka said. "If we can broadcast a signal at precisely the right frequency, we might be able to bring down their shields." Hope bloomed in the room. It was a long shot, but it was something. General Rodriguez immediately sprang into action. "We need to get this information to every military and scientific installation on the planet," he said. "If we're going to have a chance, we need everyone working on this." As the bunker erupted into a flurry of activity, the leaders made their way to a global broadcast studio. It was time to address the world again. This time, it was President Chen who spoke. "Citizens of Earth," he began, his voice firm and resolute. "The Galactic Empire has given us their ultimatum. They expect us to cower in fear, to give up without a fight. They expect us to value our lives over our freedom." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But that is not who we are. We are humanity. Throughout our history, we have faced insurmountable odds. We have stared into the abyss of extinction many times, and every time, we have emerged stronger." Images flashed on screens worldwide, scenes of human achievement, of people helping each other in times of crisis, of small acts of everyday heroism. "We may be outgunned," President Chen continued, "but we are not outmatched. Our greatest strength has always been our spirit, our creativity, our determination, our unwavering hope in the face of adversity." He leaned forward, his eyes blazing with intensity. "So this is our answer to the Empire's ultimatum. We choose freedom. We choose to fight. And make no mistake, we intend to win." As his words rang out, a cheer went up around the world. In labs and military bases, in homes and shelters, people set to work with renewed vigor. The odds were stacked against them, but humanity had no intention of going down without a fight. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the whole galaxy was about to learn just how formidable humans could be when united against a common threat. As the Galactic Empire's ships loomed menacingly in Earth's skies, the planet below was a hive of activity. Humanity had chosen to fight, and now they raced against time to prepare for the coming battle. In a secret underground facility in the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked tirelessly with a team of the world's brightest scientists. They hunched over computers and complex machinery, their faces lit by the glow of screens. "We've almost got it," Dr. Tanaka muttered, her eyes never leaving her work. The frequency to disrupt their shields is within our reach. Nearby, a young programmer named Alex cheered as his code compiled successfully. "Dr. Tanaka, I think we've cracked the encryption on their communication signals." A ripple of excitement went through the room. This could be the breakthrough they needed. Meanwhile, in military bases around the world, soldiers and pilots trained relentlessly. They practiced with new weapons hastily developed using insights gained from the alien technology. At Andrews Air Force Base, Captain Sarah Martinez climbed into the cockpit of a modified F-35 fighter jet. The plane had been retrofitted with experimental tech based on the Empire's energy signatures. "Let's see how these birds fly," she said, a determined grin on her face as she prepared for a test flight. In orbit, a fleet of hastily upgraded satellites took position. They were Earth's first line of defense, ready to broadcast the disruptive frequency once it was perfected. On the ground, people from all walks of life joined the effort. Retired engineers came out of retirement to lend their expertise. Computer programmers worked around the clock, creating advanced AI systems to coordinate Earth's defenses. In Kenya, a group of Maasai warriors volunteered to be part of an early warning system, using their traditional knowledge of the land and sky to spot any unusual activity. Even children played their part. In schools across the globe, students learned about space and technology at an accelerated pace, preparing the next generation for life in a universe larger than they had ever imagined. Back in the underground bunker, world leaders coordinated the global effort. The room was a buzz of activity, with screens showing updates from every corner of the planet. The Chinese space program has successfully launched 3 more satellites, announced President Chen. "Excellent," replied Chancellor Schmidt. "And I just received word that the European Particle Accelerator has made a breakthrough in understanding the Empire's propulsion technology." Secretary General Lopes nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "We're making progress, but will it be enough?" General Rodriguez stepped forward, his face grim but determined. "It has to be. We've distributed our new weapons to strategic locations worldwide. If the Empire wants a fight, we'll give them one they won't forget." As the day of the expected attack drew nearer, an unusual calm settled over the Earth. People went about their daily lives, but there was a new sense of purpose, a unity that had never existed before. In New York's Central Park, a massive crowd gathered for a globe-spanning musical concert. Artists from every continent performed, their music a defiant celebration of human creativity and resilience. As the sun set on the eve of the anticipated battle, families around the world shared meals together, cherishing what could be their last moments of peace. But there was no despair, only a quiet determination. In London, an old man raised a toast in a crowded pub. "To Earth," he said, his voice gruff with emotion. The entire pub echoed his words, "To Earth." The phrase spread like wildfire across social media. Soon, people all over the planet were raising their voices in unison. "To Earth." It was a battle cry, a prayer and a promise all in one. As night fell, Dr. Tanaka's team made their final adjustments to the shield-disrupting frequency. Captain Martins and her squadron ran last-minute checks on their aircraft. And in homes around the world, people hugged their loved ones a little tighter. Earth was as ready as it could be. Whatever the Empire threw at them, humanity would face it together. In the depths of space, the Empire's fleet began to move. The battle for Earth was about to begin. But this time, Earth was not defenseless. This time, Earth was united. This time, Earth was ready to fight for its freedom. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, humanity stood on the brink of its greatest test. The fate of the planet hung in the balance, but one thing was certain: Earth would not go quietly into the night. The sky turned an ominous shade of red as the Galactic Empire's fleet descended upon Earth. Massive ships, each the size of a small city, filled the horizon. The air crackled with energy as their weapons powered up. In the underground command center, General Rodriguez watched the radar screens with steely eyes. "This is it," he said grimly. All units prepare for engagement. Around the world, soldiers manned their stations. Pilots climbed into their modified fighters. And in secret bases, scientists stood ready to activate Earth's new defenses. The first shot came without warning. A beam of blinding light shot from the lead Empire ship, aimed at New York City. But before it could hit, a shimmering dome appeared over the city, deflecting the blast. "Shield technology holding," shouted a technician. A cheer went up in the command center. Dr. Tanaka's voice crackled over the comm system. "The city shields are working, but they won't last forever. We need to strike back." Captain Sarah Martinez and her squadron of fighters launched into the sky. "Eagle Squadron, ready for attack run," she reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. As the fighters engaged the Empire's smaller ships, a fierce dogfight erupted in the skies. Earth's pilots, though outnumbered, fought with a determination that seemed to surprise the enemy. On the ground, things were just as intense. Empire dropships landed, deploying ground troops, but they were met with fierce resistance. In the streets of Paris, London, and Beijing, soldiers and civilians alike fought to defend their homes. Back in the command center, Secretary General Lopes watched the battle unfold with a mixture of pride and fear. "Activate the disruptor satellites," she ordered. High above the Earth, the network of satellites came to life. They began broadcasting the frequency Dr. Tanaka and her team had discovered, aimed at disrupting the Empire's shields. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, the largest Empire ship flickered. Its shield wavered and fell. "It's working," shouted Alex, the young programmer who had helped crack the Empire's codes. "Their flagship is vulnerable." General Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "All units, focus fire on the flagship." Earth's forces unleashed everything they had. Fighters strafed the ship's surface, while ground-based weapons fired salvo after salvo. The once mighty vessel began to crumble under the assault. But the Empire wasn't defeated yet. They launched a counterattack, their weapons tearing through Earth's defenses in several places. Cities around the world took heavy damage. In the skies above Tokyo, Captain Martinez's fighter took a direct hit. "I'm hit," she yelled, her ship spiraling towards the ground. At the last moment, she managed to eject, parachuting to safety even as her plane exploded below her. The battle raged on for hours, neither side willing to give an inch. Earth's forces fought with everything they had, their determination growing with each small victory. As the sun began to set, it seemed the tide was finally turning. More and more Empire ships fell to Earth's weapons, unable to withstand the combined assault. In a desperate move, the Empire's remaining ships gathered for one final massive attack. They focused all their firepower on a single point, the Rocky Mountains, where Earth's main command center was hidden. "Braced for impact," yelled General Rodriguez as the mountain shook around them. But just as it seemed all might be lost, a miracle happened. The Empire's weapons suddenly went silent. Their ships hung motionless in the sky. In the stunned silence that followed, a message came through on all frequencies. It was Zaxel, the Empire's emissary. "People of Earth," he said, his voice no longer filled with arrogance, but with a grudging respect. "You have fought with a courage and unity we did not think possible from such a young species. The Empire withdraws." A collective gasp went up around the world. Had they heard correctly? Had Earth actually won? As the Empire's ships began to retreat, moving back into the depths of space, the truth sank in. Against all odds, humanity had stood its ground. They had faced the greatest threat in their history and emerged victorious. In the command center, Secretary General Lopes turned to her fellow leaders, tears of joy in her eyes. "We did it," she said simply. "We won." As night fell on the battered but unbroken Earth, cheers and celebrations erupted around the globe. Humanity had proved its worth among the stars. They had declared their independence to the galaxy and made it stick. The battle for Earth was over. but humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning. As the dust settled on the greatest battle in Earth's history, a new day dawned. The skies, once filled with alien warships, were now clear. Humanity had emerged victorious, but the world would never be the same. In the weeks following the Empire's retreat, Earth buzzed with activity. Cities began to rebuild. Scientists pored over the wreckage of fallen alien ships, eager to unlock their secrets. The whole planet seemed to pulse with a new energy, a sense of possibility that hadn't existed before. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, now rebuilt and gleaming, world leaders gathered to discuss Earth's future. The room was packed, with representatives from every nation present. Secretary General Lopes stood at the podium, her face tired but triumphant. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, "we have faced our greatest challenge and prevailed. But our journey is far from over. Today, we must decide how we move forward as a planet united." The debate that followed was long and intense. Some argued for creating a global government to face future threats. Others stressed the importance of maintaining individual nations while working together. In the end, they reached a compromise. A new organization would be formed, the Earth Defense and Space Exploration Agency, EDSEA. It would coordinate planetary defense and lead humanity's ventures into space, while individual nations would maintain their sovereignty on Earth. Meanwhile, in laboratories around the world, breakthroughs were happening at an astonishing pace. Dr. Tanaka and her team had reverse-engineered some of the Empire's technology, leading to advancements in energy production, medicine, and space travel. In a press conference, Dr. Tanaka unveiled their latest creation, Earth's first faster-than-light engine. "With this," she said, her eyes shining with excitement, "we can explore the stars on our own terms." The news sent waves of excitement around the globe. Suddenly, the universe didn't seem so big and scary anymore. It was full of possibilities, waiting to be explored. In military bases, Captain Martinez, now promoted to colonel, trained a new generation of pilots. Their fighters were now equipped with technology that matched or even surpassed that of the Empire. "We're not just learning to defend Earth," Martinez told her students. "We're preparing to take our place among the stars." But it wasn't all about military might and scientific advancement. The unity forged in the heat of battle continued in peacetime. International cooperation reached unprecedented levels. Old conflicts were set aside as humanity focused on their shared future. In schools, children learned about alien cultures and faraway planets alongside Earth history. Art and music flourished, inspired by humanity's brush with the cosmos. The first blockbuster movie about the war, Earth Stands Tall, broke box office records worldwide. 1 year after the battle, Earth received its first alien visitors since the war. But this time, they came in peace. Representatives from worlds that had also resisted the Empire arrived to establish diplomatic relations. In a ceremony broadcast around the world, Secretary General Lopes welcomed the alien diplomats. "Today, we take our place in the galactic community," she said, "not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals, as friends." The aliens shared tales of other worlds that had stood up to the Empire, inspired by Earth's example. It seemed humanity's defiance had sparked a wave of resistance across the galaxy. As night fell on this historic day, people around the world gathered to stare up at the stars. But now, instead of fear, their gazes were filled with wonder and anticipation. In a small town in Kansas, a young girl pointed at the sky. "Mom," she asked, "can we go there someday?" Her mother smiled. "Yes, sweetheart, someday we will." From the ashes of invasion, Earth had risen stronger than ever. United, resilient, and armed with new knowledge and technology, humanity stood ready to forge its own destiny among the stars. The Galactic Empire had sought to conquer Earth. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. And now, that giant was taking its first steps into a larger universe, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the saying went in those days, the Empire had wanted Earth to join the stars. Well, here they came, ready or not.